Question number 1. Do you think that people should use social media in exercising their freedom of speech?
Yes, first of all, everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference, and to seek, receive, and impart information, and all ideas of his kind, regardless of frontiers, and through any other media of his choice. Similarly, it is stated in our Bill of Rights in the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 3, Section 4, that no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, of expression, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. It is stated also in the Section 7 that the right of the people to information on matters for public concern shall be recognized, access to official records, and to documents and papers pertaining to official acts, transactions, or decisions, as well as to government research data used as basis for policy development, shall be afforded the citizen, subject to such limitation as may be provided by law. The internet and social media has become a vital communication tool which individual can exercise their right of freedom of expression and exchange information and ideas. In the past year or so, a growing movement of people around the world has been witnessed who are advocating for peace, justice, equality, accountability of the powerful, and respect for human rights. In such movement, the internet and social media has often played a key role by enabling people to connect and exchange information instantly and by creating a sense of solidarity. It is clearly evident that social media is a very powerful means in exercising one's freedom of speech and expression. However, it is also being increasingly used for illegal acts, which has given force to the government attempts at censoring social media, where, on the other hand, the misuse of social media entails the need for legal censorship. On the other hand, there are legitimate fears of violation of right of the people as an inevitable consequence of censorship.
Question number 2. What should be the limits of freedom of speech in social media?
An effective media also depends on the legal basis that freedom of expression gives the right to function and report freely, sometimes critically without threat or fear of punishment. Freedom of expression is not an absolute right. It does not protect hate speech or incitement to violence. That said, many other rights which are intrinsic to our daily lives build on and intersect with this protection for free thought and individual expression. Freedom of expression covers everything, from satire to political campaigns to conversations in your own home. It's a fundamental right that allows for citizens to speak freely and without interference. The version of Article 3, Section 4 in our Bill of Rights amend this by stating that the exercise of these rights carries special duties and responsibilities and may therefore be subject to certain restrictions necessary for the respect of the rights or reputation of others, or for the protection of national security, or of the public health or moral. Freedom of speech and expression, therefore, may not be recognized as being absolute, and common limitations or boundaries to freedom of speech that relate to libel, slander, obscenity, pornography, sedition, incitement, fighting words, classified information, copyright violation, trade secrets, food labeling, non-disclosure agreements, the right to privacy, dignity, the right to be forgotten, national security, and perjury. Spreading false information, unverified reports, and other forms of disinformation, especially now that addressing the COVID-19 pandemic is punishable by law. Citizens caught peddling fake news could be charged for violating Republic Act No. 10175, known as Anti-Cybercrime Law, or under Section 6 of Republic Act No. 11469, known as Bayanihan to Heal as One Act, whichever is applicable. Section 6 in Republic Act No. 10175, known as Anti-Cybercrime Law, which is freedom of expression, contains cyber squatting, in which the acquisition of a domain name over the internet in bad faith to profit, mislead, destroy reputation, and deprive others from registering the same. Child pornography is also punishable by law, which the unlawful or prohibited acts defined and punishable by Republic Act No. 9775 or the Anti-Child Pornography Act of 2009, committed through a computer system. Freedom of expression that contains cyber libel is punishable by law, which the unlawful or prohibited acts of libel as defined in Article 355 of the Revised Penal Code, as amended, committed through a computer system or any other similar means which may be devised in the future. Republic Act Number 4360, in the Article 360, that any person who shall publish, exhibit, or cause the publication or exhibition of any defamation in writing or by similar means shall be responsible for the same. The author or editor of a book or a pamphlet or business manager of daily newspaper, magazine, or serial publications shall be responsible for the defamation contained therein to the same extent. Republic Act Number 10173, an act protecting individual personal information in information and communication system in the government and the private sector, creating for this purpose a National Privacy Commission or for other purposes, also known as the Data Privacy Act of 2002. Section 2, which is the policy of the state to protect the fundamental right of privacy of communication while ensuring the flow of information to promote innovation and growth. The state recognized the vital role of information and communication technology in nation building and its inherent obligation to ensure that personal information in information and communication systems in the government and in the private sector are secured and protected. Freedom of expression that has also rebellion, sedition, and related crimes is punishable by Presidential Decree Number 1834, whereas the state has a right to self-defense when its life is endangered, whereas the crimes of rebellion, subversion, sedition, conspiracy of proposal to commit such crimes, and crimes of offenses committed in furtherance thereof or in connection therewith constitute direct attacks on the life of the state. Speech that violate Republic Act Number 1692, an act to amend Section 8 of 292 as to prevent the utterance of speeches or the use of language violative of good order or tending to disturb public peace. In Section 1 it states that Section 8 of Act 292 entitled An Act Defining the Crimes of Treason, Insurrection, Sedition, Conspiracies to commit such crimes, seditious utterances, whether written or spoken, the information of secret political societies, the administering or taking of oaths to commit crimes, or to prevent the discovering of the same, and the violation of oath of allegiance, and prescribing the punishment. Freedom of expression that contains trade secret is a non-public information that is financially valuable and is guarded with confidentiality measures. In the food and beverage industry, trade secrets may refer to the ingredients or the processing methods that are critical to the taste, textures, appearance, and smell of a product. While there is no independent trade secret law here in the Philippines, trade secrets can be protected under the Article 40 of Republic Act Number 7394 or the Consumer Protection Act and Article 292 of the Revised Penal Code. Freedom of expression that contains false, deceptive, or misleading advertisement is violating the Section 4 of Article 110 of Republic Act Number 7394, which it shall be unlawful for any person to disseminate or to cause the dissemination of any false, deceptive, or misleading advertisement by Philippine mail or in commerce by print, radio, television, outdoor advertisement, or other medium for the purpose of including or which is likely to induce directly or indirectly the purchase of consumer products or services.
Question number 3. As a student, how will you use social media to ensure that you do not propagate inaccurate and unreliable information?
To ensure that you do not propagate inaccurate and unreliable information, always check your sources before you share it. Nowadays, people rely on gathering information and news in social media. One could share an information easily, but not all things shared in social media are trustworthy and can be trusted. In order for us to prevent sharing this fake news in social media, we should only share content from trusted and known sources. sources that contains big name in news and media industry. For example, a news TV page or a newspaper page. You can verify the information using several pages or sources to ensure the authenticity of the news. Once you do this, you can ensure that you are sharing the right information online. It often has a clear bias, and it may attempt to inspire anger or any other strong feelings from the reader. Such content may come from a news source, but the news itself may be downright nonsensical. Don't forget also to check the publication date of the content. A suspicious article may not be a fake news. It might just contain dated information. To fact-check any claims in such content, search for up-to-date news on the topic. The author also is anonymous or extremely well-known. Fraudulent publishers may use a generic author's name or omit the byline entirely in order to avoid scrutiny. Alternatively, they may use a very famous person's name as the byline. The article misrepresents or misquotes its sources. Citing reputable sources is an effective way of making your argument seems more credible. However, if the article doesn't accurately reflect its sources, it should be treated with suspicion. The article also contains spelling and grammatical errors. Real news sources employs editors to provide high-quality content. Purveyors of fake news often don't. As a result, fake news articles may contain excessive writing errors. Mainstream news is only as good as the sources they rely on. Anonymous sources, or stories coming from a single source, are more suspect than stories with multiple sources of confirmation. This doesn't mean that they are false. Many important leaks and stories have come from a single anonymous sources, but don't assume they are true, especially if they are sensational until there is confirmation. Consider also the story agenda. Stories are colored by the agendas of the writers. News organizations typically operate for money and part of their brand, and thus their profit lies in their accuracy. However, many news groups tailor their content to particular segments of customers, and thus more likely to cover stories with a particular perspective. This can skew their accuracy, turning it into affinity with their preconceptions of the target audience. The way in which humans spread news and communicate ideas has changed remarkably within the past decades. Access to the internet has allowed for near immediate retrieval of news stories and has been a way to rapidly spread vast swaths of information to the general public. While this unprecedented ability to read an array of information and stories has upsides, the world is now experiencing repercussions from this ability to post and report unreliable and unfounded material. Social media, in particular, has been a heaven for those spreading false information in order to bolster personal information or diminish opposing thoughts and ideas. The lack of accountability has been one of the most serious factors in the spreading of erroneous informations. Internet websites, specifically social media websites, must ensure that the information being spread on their sites and the people who spread them are held accountable for their stories that are posted to better guarantee reliable news stories. A key component to safeguarding the trust in news stories and the press in general is vesting posts on social media that appear as news articles. Companies such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat have a responsibility to maintain a sense of reliability in their news posts. For instance, furthermore, social media accounts that continually post misleading news stories that purposely and clearly show incorrect stories should be suspended from use. Basic and attainable rules like this would shield vulnerable social media populations from being coerced and manipulated into believing certain opinions because of false stories. A large responsibility in safeguarding access to true information and reliable articles lies in the regulations and standards of massive social media corporations that hold incredible power over the posts of their users. While the ability to block false news stories would be crucial in stopping the spread of erroneous information, there are other ways social media companies could safeguard accurate information without producing fears that they are preventing freedom of speech. One simple solution would be to more clearly show authentic news sources. This course of action would also people allow us to post their beliefs and opinions without fear of their posts being taken down on their account being banned. Though there would still be inaccurate information and news articles on social media, distinctly marking reliable sources would allow people to better realize accurate or inaccurate information while also protecting users' freedom of thought and speech. Although there are many actions that social media companies should take to curb falsification of news stories or sources, a more pertinent issue is the undeniable link of inaccurate information and hyper-partisanship. A climate of hatred for those with opposing views and unwillingness to concede in any situation has led to the creation of fake news stories to fuel agendas and promote political opinions. People in every political party need to be more open to change and be malleable in their belief in order to bring about true change and positive compromises. When people keep an open mind, they are less willing to spread fake news or believe stories that are clearly based on unverifiable information.
Ma'am Annalyn, classmates, those are my answers. That would be all and thank you.